This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!
Let him in, Bravo.
He's the nation's top counter-terrorist.
Delta 1, you're good to go.
But on his final mission,
Negative. It's not him.
he missed the target. Now, there's only one man who can put him back in the game.
Whoa, I bet that hurt.
That hurt.
I need merchandise, the best.
Sorry, I'm closed for tonight.
You're open now.
A world-class arms dealer
Did you open that?
Yeah.
with a flair for destruction.
I don't know, man. I look at you, I see nothing but trouble. What the hell? I kind of like trouble.
Their styles are different, very different.
Offense gets the glory.
But defense wins the game.
But against an international conspiracy,
I need a partner.
I'm the man, baby.
they'll be at each other's side
Yes! Behind you! Oh!
and in each other's face.
It's me.
Jack's coming. Take care of business. They have no idea what they're up against. Now that makes it personal, mister.
Can you fly a plane?
Like a bird.
Does your hair change color when you sweat?
Oops, airball. You need practice, man. But I'll never miss twice, brother.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dennis Rodman. They don't play by the rules.
Sorry.
Double team.
Who does your hair? Siegfried or Roy?
No hurt jokes today, okay?
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Microphone settings are correct. It's just after 11 p.m. on February 1st of 2025. And this is the Cat Bus Russ with the Poetic Critic. And we just finished our sophomore B-Fest experience. This would be my senior year. So almost got everything correct in the inverse, I suppose, to our high school experience. I still miss you graduating as a junior, because I wanted to kick the crap out of seniors. But no. Alright, so I don't know, that's kind of the appropriate attitude, I think, going into a B-Fest. This was a rather solid lineup, which was never posted on the internet, which was one I think may have been the best running gag. When our friend Tim would just tell Starman would just go and say, and here's Brandon. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong. Brandon Knowles with the news. Yes, Tim, the B-list. Yes, Tim, the B-Fest schedule has still not been listed, and now sports. It was, but really, it ended up being quite the solid lineup. If it was absolute shit, it was fun to wallow in, and, really I'd say a lot of 3 to 4 star rated movies. So, so I only missed 3 of them, and I'm sure, and Rory can catch you up on those, and that's where we're at. So I guess the public wants to hear from you, since you were virtually the social darling of the event. Well, how did you think of B-Fest?
I thought it was a great time, and not just because I got to spend time with friends that I primarily interact with online, like Jessica Ritchie and Noel Thingwall. Of the 15 films that were featured this time,
We're not counting the 16th film being... Well, we're ahead of schedule now, which was kind of amazing. Heavy metal
we'll do
parking
it in
lot.
order.
Okay.
But
So
what we had was I had seen 6 of the films before, sometimes just casually. Those were The Thing That Couldn't Die, which was featured on MST3K. This is the one about the...
what season? Because I don't remember that.
Season 8.
Oh.
And it's not often rerun because it was Universal International release at a time when the show had to work primarily with that film library. It was the first Sci-Fi Channel season. This is the one about the...
Well, okay. You're saying what you've seen. The 6 films you've seen. Okay. Because I was just saying, well, we're going to go in order. Well, okay. So, yeah, and I'll do the same, essentially.
That's the one with the conquistador who's lost his head and is trying to get it reunited with his body by way of a family of greedy farmers in the then present day of the 1950s. I'd also casually seen, by way of Pluto, Night of the Comet.
Well, yeah.
The film that the print they used had it under the title Death Wheelers, but if you're familiar with the
I was working
recent,
on that
full core Blu-ray box compilations, the huge
this is one
full core compilations. It's called Psychomania,
which could
I'd
have been
seen
a
last
pun.
October.
Oh, okay. Could have been done as a pun. Psycho, cycle, undead motorcycle.
The Transformers the movie, which I saw in theaters in 1986.
Yep.
And finally, Curse of the Demon, which was on Svengoolie last year, the American edit of what's known in the UK as Night of the Demon. Although this version is probably better known.
And, of course, you've seen the Wizard of Speed and Time.
And Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Brought to you this year by I Did Crazy Flicks LLC. That was quite an experience. As I said, they didn't have the lineup listed on the internet at all, and it wasn't until we were, I'd say, 45 minutes away.
Town that people who had started to arrive, like Noel Thingvall, I think, was the one who posted up the picture of the poster that had the lineup on it.
And Rory still wouldn't spoil it for me because it was like, well, I have not, because I had difficulty, and honestly, I think every year it can be different when it comes to posting the lineup because, probably a different senior each year gets the head up AO films at Northwestern. So, and there's a good chance they have to be responsible for everything, and I know how often I update ididcrazyflicks.com, which is about weekly. But there are times where it doesn't look as nice as I'd like it to be. I understand the difficulties, but it wasn't until I arrived and I asked, well, I was looking to sponsor something, and I've got the form, but nobody's really responded to me. And they said the only thing they had was the Wizard of Speed and Time and Plan 9 from Outer Space, which are the annual ones, so they kind of hold a special place, but I was thanked upon leaving for being the guy to put the $200 up for it. And I got my poster, I got my sticker, I got my t-shirt, got my admission, and again, classic, Rory is just too kind situation. Don't buy your ticket, I'm gonna get this comped. So, and with stuff like that, I'm just going to say we are still waiting to hear back from C2E2. We're looking about February, the end of this week, to find out if we get a panel or not. We'll be up there regardless. I'm thinking, do I bleach my hair? Well, not bleach my hair. I might have to bleach my hair. Because I found a Flash Gordon t-shirt at Fan Expo New Orleans. And obviously I can find khakis. The real trick is coming up with a cool football. So... Or I could just go and put a Deadpool mask on and Come on, Wade Wilson is the true savior of the universe. So yeah, that's getting up there. It wasn't too difficult. Got time to stop at Benny's in Joliet. Got myself some Vandemille Totally Roasted, which we can't get down in Central Illinois. Weird distributor rules. And for those who are going to ask, Yingling is not available till March at liquor stores downstate. I didn't say which liquor store I worked at. Okay. Yep, so, difficulty, again, my issue was, oh, shoot, I didn't put a pen in my bag. Fortunately, I had a pen in my coat, so that worked out, and, yeah, and got my logos put up there, and got my buttons handed out to get a good amount, just, what was really cool, though, was Rory's gang, pretty much arranged for us to all have dinner at Portillo's in Niles, Illinois, which finally got to try the chocolate strawberry milkshake. Yum, 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 yum. And the dogs are all right. How was the vegan dog?
I thought it was really good.
Okay.
But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so going into what we were doing at B-Fest.
Right.
Going in and out. A big thing this year was there did seem to be more technical difficulties than usual from the get-go.
This is officially...
very few of the films played in their originally planned positions, which made some interesting juxtapositions, and contrasts.
Then there were sponsors who couldn't... Well, there were sponsors who couldn't make it to when the original lineup was supposed to be for some reason.
Right, they couldn't introduce them. The first film they did was Sheba Baby, which is a second-tier Pam Grier vehicle.
Yeah, so it's not quite...
a traditional blaxploitation film primarily set in Louisville, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Although we have an opening credits are set in Chicago.
Yes, and I thought it was pretty good, but there is definitely the technical. Speaking of technical issues, and I guess those not technical issues, more of cast issues.
Okay,
I got the first line, pregnant pause out of the night.
Yeah, that was a big crowd pleaser too. But a big thing about what happened with Sheba Baby was that about 20 minutes in, just as we were going to a morning after scene for Pam and her love interest, the fire alarm went off. And we were cleared out. We all had to clear out of the building for about 10 minutes and walk down the road. And no one was hurt, and it was resolved very quickly, and we went back. But it did lead to a running gag in which anytime there was even the hint of any attraction or intimacy between the characters, everyone would start chanting beep, beep,
hashtag beep fest.
Alternatively, if something exploded in a movie.
Yes.
This with big fireballs, that we'd have it go off.
And now, a feature presentation. Oh, very well. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Get ourselves some snacks.
Hey, Catbus Russ here, back in Urbana, Illinois. Just finishing up the edit for the B-Fest episode. Just letting you know, since we have a break in the action a couple of times during my conversation with the Poetic Critic, I figure it's a good place to put some other movie reviews in, so bear with me and we'll get back to the conversation.
And welcome to the next exciting episode of
Arena War.
Fresh batch of institutionalized gladiators fighting for their freedom.
Ready, here we go. You guys heard Perez?
Yes, smell that.
Get back!
Those on the line. The parole board has offered you a ticket out. Win Arena Wars, win your freedom. 7 arenas with 7 of the most vicious killers the world has seen in the last decade. You make it out alive, you get to go home.
Luke Bender.
You're an innocent man.
Innocent man can mean big ratings.
I'll be watching.
I think it's time to audition Mr. Bender.
No!
What was your last physical?
Cell block shower this morning.
Oh, yeah.
You ready for this? Hoorah.
Impressive showing out there tonight. You're the new fan favorite.
Are you with me?
Cutie pie back for the kill.
If you want to live through this, we have to work together.
I'm watching you.
Smile for the camera, thug life.
Wow!
It's showtime!
We have to finish this.
Come on! Hell yeah!
Doesn't sound much like rehabilitation, does it?
After this feature and V for Vengeance, Paramount Plus might not really be at least have a plus in movies. I just concluded watching Arena Wars, which seemed interesting. It's got Michael Madsen as your headshot for at least the background screen. An interesting enough poster. It's a story that plays on the Running Man, essentially. And I've seen similar things like the Samuel L. Jackson, Kellen Lutz movie Arena, which I thought was a lot of fun. This one starts with some promise of some great gore, and I'm going to say there are some good gore effects in it, but it's just very scattered brain in the writing, the pacing really just doesn't work, and it doesn't really understand the satirical side of what it's trying to do. It's a movie about sending about 8 to 10 death row inmates to fight through barehanded a set of 7 opponents, who have their knives, their pickaxe, machetes, chainsaws, the ability to do some Bane stuff with adrenaline. And if they make it through, they get their freedom. So, standard stuff. The Condemned is another example of similar plot. In this film, to try to solve the lower ratings, or to expand the product, I should say. So I kind of like the talk of franchising and all that stuff. They decide to put an innocent man into the game, a character named Luke Bender, who is basically in there because he took the fall for a military cover-up. And they decide that the reason why the ratings are going down is because how can you like political prisoners or arsonists? You need somebody who legitimately is a good guy. That's your story. So they let the cat out of the bag there. It's not say The Condemned where, Austin is blackmailed or the Running Man. They do take some elements, I'd say, from the original Running Man novella, which I kind of appreciate. But the dialogue, the script, it's just very much like written 20 years behind with the attitudes. So it's like a butt rock version of the Running Man. The performances are nothing to speak home about. Some of them are just very much your just pretty looking low budget actors. Sorry if I offend any of my acting friends with that one. It's just very... And there's really not just very hard to find good things to say about this movie. Michael Madsen was probably there for a day, and they do as a commentator for the entire thing, and then they try to make it a point like his character is important with one scene, and then never follow up on it. As for the writing, they put way too much stuff into it, and then they decide, well, we'll cut it all out on the back end, so the place where the action should really be great is not there. So you get your first scene, which is a cool enough fight, and then with some good gore effects, and then you never get anything like that the rest of the film. And then you take elements from the Suicide Squad, and the characters' motivations just don't make any sense, which then really result in the Amanda Waller button push stuff. It's just very sloppy. So sloppily edited. You could tell maybe it's just a budget thing, because it's just so silly, because it's like it almost feels like they had a short film to sell this feature, and then it's like, okay, but we don't get any extra money to stretch it out to a feature length. You're much better off watching the Paul W.S. Anderson produced Death Race films to get at least likable characters, I would say. I'm not saying our protagonists are unlikable. They're just... we're so focused on one character's background that why are we letting them survive? We'd probably be better off sacrificing them throughout the event to kind of try to pulling at our heartstrings. So it's just... and then you get this audience participation thing, which is really not that. I mean, one, you have such poorly done, piped in, I guess would be the wrestling term, noise, during the scenes with them. And I've seen that in bad wrestling movies. But, you know, that's because a lot of them are based on indie wrestling and they don't have crowds. Or crowds that are going to produce a good amount of noise. Basically, I think it's like a casting call for weird. People are willing to be weird, and the director just hopes that was interesting enough. I mean, it's just, I've seen this done so many times and so well. It's like you just... and I've seen low-budget movies like Death Count, where, again, Michael Madsen, but they don't try to get overly complicated with things. They just like, okay, somebody's going to have to die at this point, and let's hope it kind of looks interesting. Here, aside from a few people getting gutted, and, you know, I'll give, you know, nice chainsaw scene. There's just nothing to phone home about. Wait a little longer, and you could have at least made it a mockbuster for the upcoming Edgar Wright Running Man remake. So, skip Arena Wars.
We have had a doozy of a day.
A real doozy.
And we're back. So, do I do a ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da or a let's go out to the lobby for that call back appropriately during the Shiba Baby bit? I wouldn't say it was as much fun as the Monkey Hustle. Again, it's just not as well made. But especially the signs, like danger, chlorine. You had another sign over there that was made, like reshoots, I suppose. And there's some extreme stuff, like Pam Grier nearly drowning a man, smothering a guy for information about the person who is trying to kill her dad to get their loan business in Louisville. So she's from Chicago as a private eye. Like, this could have definitely been a sequel if they wanted to. But it's rather tame for Pam Grier, honestly. Like, the language is a little extreme, but even when our seemingly primary antagonist pilot is shown laying around with some ladies, all of them are brought up. So, and then, yeah, I was working on that. So then we got to did MST3K back in 1998 when we watched this originally on the Sci-Fi Channel really lean into the lesbian innuendo?
The thing that couldn't die?
Yes.
No, I don't recall that they did.
Yeah. This was... This may have came up with another and constant gag from the audience, from Darth Marenghi's.
Dark Place. Well, bringing up the classic line, I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards. We got more uses of that last year, but yeah, I think The Couldn't Die was supposed to be the first movie, and I think it's better that it wasn't, because even though it's a short film, it is fairly low stakes, and even though there's fun to be had with the Vincent Price looking head being carried around,
that was a
tree trunks and stuff,
and that was a big
other characters.
That was a big theme of it. It's like, especially when we go back to Shiva Baby, when you see the police chief. We need John Saxon.
Well, give me a John Saxon type.
But his answering machine message is...
I'll take it.
So, that was a very constant theme until we got to the shack off of 101.
Shack Out on 101 is a mid-50s film noir that's an early credit for Lee Marvin as a fry cook named Slob at a seaside diner.
Yes, we'll get back to that, but I really dug. I mean, I thought it was especially since we were really leaning into the queer conversation on this one, because like it really goes there once. So the head can go and possess people, and after possesses our Mike. I can't remember if they were going for native or Hispanic. Basically, he's another constant thing. Tell me about the rabbits, which turns out to really pay off later on in the festival.
Right.
Character. After he starts jumping from chick to chick, and man, I mean, it's a good thing this was a movie. This was a theatrical feature, because if it was on TV, 2 girls in 2 separate twin beds would not be so cool.
Okay. We get to shack out on 101 after this. And
which I didn't find as good as the thing that couldn't die. I just thought the story was a little... I mean, it was low stakes, yes, but the story was a little more solid. Very weak climax, but it wants us to get to know these characters, who, again, really, dish rag boxing. That was kind of cool. But then you get their weightlifting bonding scene.
Yeah, the thing in Shack Out on 101 is that although Lee Marvin's character is clearly lusting after the proprietor's daughter, who is in love with the professor, who happens to be working on some sensitive nuclear topics, because this is the Cold War. Although he clearly is lusting after the daughter, he seems to have this really weirdly intimate friendship with the gal's father, who's played by Keenan Wynn. And it culminates in a scene where they've got their shirts off and they're doing weightlifting at the bar, and it is so bizarre to watch.
Yes, they eventually go to ask the daughter to compare calves.
Yeah.
And like, hey.
And then later we get we also establish another theme for the evening firmly a little later, when some scuba gear is brought into play that turns out to set up the climax.
Yes, Chekhov's
harpoon. Chekhov's harpoon. Which as I was going to say, we'd already seen this in Sheba Baby. People running around in wetsuits and with harpoon guns or just fishing paraphernalia, and we'd see a lot more movies in the lineup that would somehow get to fishing and or scuba gear at some point. And in Shack Out on 101, I think my favorite audience riff from that one was when Keenan Wynn is showing off the new flippers that have just been delivered. Okay, there's going to be a musical number and it's going to be great.
So, but needless to say, yes, the nuclear secrets, and then basically everybody at the bar who isn't Keenan Wynn or the daughter is either an agent or a double agent for the communists or the American cause.
And that's another theme we ended up with. We have multiple movies that had to deal in one way or another with the commies. Because a complaint we've had about some of the recent B-Fests is that they lean too heavily towards 1980s onwards, but we had a lot of 50s and 60s titles this time.
Yeah.
It's a little more balanced.
Yeah, and I tried to be a little more balanced. I think we could have used a little more post-2000, but like the movies I got around to offering up were, and I brought, just in case we didn't actually have a lineup, I brought Firepower with The Ultimate Warrior for the 90s,
right?
70s Death Race 2000, and for the 2000s, 2008 and 2009, great years for B movies. Movie I brought was Dead Hooker in a Trunk from the Soska Twins for 2009, and Doomsday by Neil Marshall for 2008. And just to piggyback on that comment I made, 2008 is when we get the new Death Race franchise, which is a lot of fun after you get Paul W.S. Anderson out of the director's chair. Ving Rhames as a heavy, Danny Trejo as Goldberg, the last Mexican Jew, as he calls himself. And 2009 also presented us another Canadian B-movie classic, Jesus Christ Vampire Slayer, as seen on Web Soup. If you want to talk about day for night, which obviously we will when we get to Plan 9 from Outer Space, not to say that we really have to talk too much about Plan 9, aside from the fact it was brought to you by I Dig Crazy Flicks. So, after it's Shack on the Shack off of 101.
Shack out on 101.
Okay.
You have to learn to say these titles correctly. It'll make you more credible in these recordings. Yeah. Anyway, then we got to Truth or Dare, A Critical Madness, which is a real indie horror film shot on video in 1986.
Available on VHS, Beta, and 8mm.
Yes.
Which we had difficulty getting to that. It should have been before the
right.
Shack
It was supposed
out
to be before Shack Out on 101.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't get until later. So you have these really young filmmakers doing a slasher movie about a guy who, due to unhealed trauma from a childhood game of Truth or Dare that ended in his own self-mutilation, ends up just starting to, as an adult, when his marriage collapses, he starts first hurting himself and then trying to kill other people, starting with his wife and lover, which does not go exactly as planned, so he is captured and institutionalized for the death of the lover.
He was actually after this self-mutilation bit.
Yeah.
And due to the overpopulation in the mental wards in Florida, this is, as Tim said, Florida Man, the slasher film.
Yeah. And he starts getting out multiple times because the wards are getting too crowded, but he just does that to kill more people, and when he's not killing more people and he's in the institution, he's harming himself to the point that he's wearing a mask that looks like the Clint Eastwood version of the Aztec mask from Puma Man.
Yes, it's a copper mask. This is after a scene where he successfully goes into a isolation ward where it wasn't isolation, he had two people with him, and he shows a really fancy knife, plays Truth or Dare with these people, fellow inmates, and a hand grenade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somehow he managed to sneak a hand grenade onto the ward.
Yes. Put this in your mouth. And probably the most expensive effect in the film.
And from that point on, it's like itchy and scratchy level random violence against anybody this guy could think of, with really bizarre escalation in the weapons used.
Yes, he like found the Hummer from Zombieland that was full of weapons, except he's got a mace at one point, he's got a chainsaw. Chekhov's nunchucks don't come into play. Machine gun. I mean, it's Florida. Yeah, so this movie is so... This is the kind of... I wouldn't say so bad it's good, but it's so bad because eventually to watch this movie, because the DVD that was brought in and then the Blu-ray, which was going to be given away as a door prize, the distributor SRS doesn't let you skip the trailers. And being a young independent, being pretty much just indie movies that are shot on video, and most of these seem like video cassette, hardly digital. There's a lot of trailers. It's basically you got a 42nd Street reel before you even get to the film. And you can't get to the film without going through a sub-menu and the DVD player they had at Norris.
Yeah, it couldn't handle that,
So we eventually found it on YouTube for $5.
Yeah.
And at one point...
And about about halfway, or maybe the two-thirds
I
mark
think
of the movie.
about halfway it popped up.
Yeah, there was a pop-up ad in the lower right-hand corner of the screen for a free trial.
Which got itself a chant.
Yeah, free trial, free trial.
One person did eventually go up on the stage and try smacking the X.
Yeah.
We did get it off, and that's when we exposed that there's another 20 minutes to go in this feature.
Yeah.
Which includes incompetent cops to the point where, I just fried the cow drunk, come on. So, and our villain did survive, it seems. Which I do appreciate the last image, because, like, we always cut to a to a still frame of the mental institution, like, 13 weeks later. 5 months later. And then it ends with Sunnyvale Mental Institution, ellipses, credit. Now, Tim gave us a great show with this.
Yeah, Tim...
Telstar.
There's Tim Telstar, right? Every time the movie's high-energy driving theme popped
just
up on the
driving
Casio,
theme.
Yeah, just when the characters driving cars came in, he would walk across the stage in time the music with a steering wheel in his hands, like he's driving the car. And he did this a lot because there are a lot. A thing about B movies you have to remember is many of them pad out the time with driving scenes that don't need to be there. And this is even more true when you're talking no-budget productions like this. So it became just this hilarious running gag. It was even brought back for one of the later films. In fact, anytime anybody was driving during a movie for the rest of the show, we'd all start... whenever they came up. And I heard a great story from
Jessica's husband?
It might have been
about the CD that
they used to burn CDs of highlights from the soundtracks of B-Fests, and the year they first showed this particular movie.
I think that was 2020.
I think this was the second time they ran this film.
Yes.
What they did for the CD was they not only featured the driving theme bookending the album, but they kept bringing it in as hidden tracks between other songs, so you never knew when it was going to turn up again.
Yes. So, as I say, this was awful, poor craftsmanship, but it was just, even when you got the 20 minutes, I did post on Blue Sky I did Crazy Flicks in this case, that this movie was the Jepsen Malort of cinema. I love Malort, but it is a act of masochism. And when you see 20 minutes left, then it's like, oh great, now I'm out of Malort and I just have the mouthfeel. Which you can find now with Warheads or Kool-Aid chewing gum available at certain stores. Fruit Stripe is back! In other words. So then we got to midnight where we did...
It was a little past midnight. So first they did The Wizard of Speed and Time short. And,
brought to you by I Did Crazy Flicks.
And they did it 4 times over. We did
yes.
Forwards, in reverse, upside down, and in reverse, upside down.
Mm.
And then we moved on to Plan 9 from Outer Space, the annual showing of that.
Yep.
I wouldn't say there was any big new additions to riffing this year.
Yeah, no, we just have fun with the gunplay, where there shouldn't be gunplay.
The Wicker versus Rattan debate. Bella and not Bella.
Day.
And
Night.
the day for night shots, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Tor! But, yeah, pretty standard stuff.
After that, we had Night of the Comet,
which I think you took a break on.
Yeah,
You've seen it before. I thought
I
it
had that on Pluto TV a while back. I was doing my crossword.
I've heard a lot of
podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of podcasters cover this, and when I've done movies like Night of the Demons with Tim Bates, friend of the show, who we also did the Arena episode for the Charles Band production Arena, and he is also a Patreon member alongside the Scoop Staley. And if you become a Patreon member, you get yourself a free waterproof sticker. Well, you get yourself a waterproof sticker, and you get that shout out every show. That's patreon.com/IDidCrazyFlicks, $3 a month. Those are your perks right now.
Superman! A wedding marks the first day of the rest of your life. You have been dead until now. I understand.
From the studio that brought you The Devil Wears Prada.
I have 2 openings at the plaza. That's good for you.
Isn't that gorgeous? Marion.
Your weddings have been booked on the same day. Which one of you wants to choose another venue?
What?
Just have double wedding. Double wedding?
What are we, 41-year-old twin sisters?
Bride Wars.
You send out your save the dates? Surprise? Your wedding better watch it.
Rated PG.
Well, I've tried to watch Bride Wars, but once the second act really kicks in, it's just not possible. I mean, you're setting me up with Anne Hathaway and Kate Hudson just acting so petty towards each other in the name of an institution that's, I find, just like I just don't like the idea that women are raised to want to have this big celebration of them. And as far as I know, that's all the wedding is truly for. So I'm sorry if I'm just a cynic, but once they get petty towards each other in a PG movie that shouldn't be PG, because little girls should not want to act like these women or feel justified at any point, and it's PG in 2009, so you know there's not going to be any subversion to the story, so no point to stick to the third act. And when you have Kristen Johnson, who's established as a sociopathic teacher, just making Anne Hathaway do stuff as favors, it just, I don't want to see that character back. I don't want to see her get involved in the wedding. There's just nothing that I think can save this movie, and God's knows why did they remake it in China in 2015. I can't say it's incompetently shot. It's just everything. Again, I just hate the idea that that at some point we raise girls to just want to get married, and no, that should not be an identity or goal. Find the right person, get married, cool, but just to have a grand celebration of thyself and thinking that marriage is a part of being successful is total bullshit. So I appreciate that I was given this as a Christmas gift for the podcast. They knew it was, it's 90 minutes, and it seems like something Russ would try. And I've tried, and there's just no getting through. Nobody wins in a bride's war.
Superman!
So, needless to say that we just got her lobby and her ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. So we're back, and I was just, with that little break, I was just making sure if this was going to be an I Did Crazy Flicks solo or a 90 for Chill, the podcast. And I think our next feature after Plan 9 does not qualify for 90 for Chill the Podcast. I guess we're going I Dig Crazy Flicks all the way with this one. So, little notes I have to take. So, after our rather vivid description of just a bad, fun movie, here's a movie that is... I was hoping to take a... Well, no, sorry. We have Night of the Comet. We'll get to the religious the religious capitalism celebration. So yes, I didn't even document that in my letterbox. Okay, well, regardless. So Night of the Comet. As I say, I had not seen it myself. Just a lot of great word of mouth. And it was on the B3 podcast with Ray and Ween. They were a little over it, I guess, not appreciating the mall sequence, having a cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun. But honestly, looking back on it, like, the projectionist guy I knew from Valley Girl as the douchebag in that movie too. And he was also the Buck from Kill Bill Volume 1. So that's one for our Tarantino fans. And so it was and this was our first Mary Warnock movie.
Yeah, she's one of the villains.
Well, she's actually the sympathetic operator. And she's also in another movie which made that all worthwhile. We'll get there. Rory at least watched that one. I did so. But I was really impressed by Night of the Demons. That was Night of the Comet.
Right.
Sorry, I've just had the Tim Bates plug. Night of the Comet. I did. That was the most worthwhile riff from me, was since all the people who witnessed the comet who weren't protected by solid steel end up being turned into red calcium dust. And eventually, as Catherine Mary Stewart, who didn't have a song in this one, or two, or three, was explaining to her little sister that everybody's dead, and pointing to and pouring out the remnants from clothes of the people who've been turned into calcium dust. Everybody's dead, Dave. And somebody did eventually respond. The captain? Everyone's dead, Dave. Rimmer? Everyone's dead, Dave. Which is appropriate, Good callback to the prior week with the Rewind Wednesday of Turning Red Dwarf. So I had a lot of fun. It was silly 80s makeup. It was not a Corman production, but a lot of Corman faces in that one. And from the same guys who did do Valley Girl. So it's like somebody on Mastodon, at Russ Stevens at mastodon.social, was bringing up how we need the new Roger Corman. And I'm just saying I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, okay. Now, I'll lead into the introduction to the next film, which most of us were up for, though Noel Thingwall said he dozed off during the previous movie, and he came to like halfway between into this one, which was wild to wake up in the middle of.
Yes, I did not want to go to sleep because I did not want the subliminal teachings this possibly could have inflicted.
Okay. The film they featured after Night of the Comet in the overnight, sort of the death slot where they put the really vile stuff.
This is not as vile as Food Fight.
I don't know.
Topically it's vile. Far vile.
The first of a set of religious exploitation films that were released to theaters by to spread the word of a fundamentalist Christian preacher named Estes Kirkle in the early 1970s.
From Mississippi.
Yeah, from Mississippi. And this one, and it was done with the help of exploitation filmmaker Ron Ormond. And the first of these films is like only 54 minutes long, because it's just really an illustrated sermon of his, called If Footmen Tire You, What Will Horses Do? In which he is describing the atrocities that happen to Christians in communist countries as a warning to Americans to get themselves right with Jesus so they won't suffer under communism, or if they do, they'll at least go to heaven when they croak, be it by way of beheading, shootings,
being dropped on pitchforks by little children.
Dropped on pitchforks by children. And it's all entirely amateur performers, members of Mr. Purple's congregation, playing all the roles.
Primarily Cubans.
Yeah. Yeah. And
if Fidel... It was like the dark side. If Fidel was giving us candy, unlike that Jesus Christ, you know, what are you gonna do? The numbers and the statistics are all ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, the running gag in that one was citation needed. But also there's because this is a Christian gore film essentially. It would be okay for people to watch it, in part because the gore is very, very fake. But it does imply that it's the most atrocious things being done to people, up to and including beheading of a child, which tied into an interesting theme. People's heads being lopped off was a big theme that turned up in a lot of movies in this B film.
Right, starting with
Thing That Couldn't Die's premise involving the evil sorcerer who was executed by beheading, and then Truth or Dare with the bit with a hand grenade, and then this movie sees a child beheaded at some point, and the fact that it looks phony doesn't make it any more distressing. It's a very mean film.
Plenty of chances. Can we stop seeing? Can you stop with the dead children?
Us dead children.
Yes.
And dead children was also a big theme of this event. Maybe it's the tenor of the times. I don't know.
Right. No, we were having that conversation at Portillo's afterwards.
Yeah.
And me and Harry Potter didn't mind the Fantastic Beasts movies. Maybe I just don't like children. But then it's but you would also have with there were angry shouts eventually with this.
Yeah, this brought back bad memories for some audience members, I think, of growing up in very religiously fundamentalist families, and the fact that it's a vision of Christianity that's based primarily on a fear of punishment. It's not about what you give. It's not about living Christ's teachings.
No, it's about surrendering.
It's about not getting rid of your television set. It's about
and
making your kids go to spend all Sunday at church.
Yeah, and I still couldn't get over the dying mother parallel they were putting into that as a character. But she constantly has a hairnet on. Not just in the kitchen.
Yeah, in the coffin, she has the hairnet on.
As another person, as I'm bitching about that, I think another person was saying, yeah, but her chest is rising during the funeral. So
I did like my friend Jessica's comment. The movie plays like a completely unaware John Waters movie and how extreme it gets.
Yeah, I guess I am finally ready for Pink Flamingos. I mean, poop eating was something I just didn't want to go to, but I think we're there now.
A lot of us have heard about the Estes Purple films for years.
Yes.
Going back to it's still there, I know, the Unknown Movies website at the turn of the millennium. And Brad Jones did some videos, Cinema Snob videos, that summarize these films. But recently, one of the boutique Blu-ray labels did a whole set of full restorations of these films with full extras for context about what these were and how these were distributed. And that's actually a good lead-in to, our next film in the set, because although we didn't use the new Blu-ray print under its original title, which is Psychomania, we had a film called the Death Wheelers.
Yeah.
This appears in the second volume of a series of Severin box sets called All the Haunts Be Ours, which are these gigantic compilation sets of folk horror movies from around the world, some as recent as last year, but many of them stretching back many, many years.
This was 71.
Yeah. And this is some of these have appeared. These restorations appeared on Criterion Channel and Tubi. You can check these out. Psychomania is a British example of folk horror.
And I just want to state, I watched a lot of it. The edible had kicked in, so I was kind of on the same trip with the frogs at certain points.
Yeah. And in this take on a folk horror premise, combines us with a biker movie. We have this band of bikers call themselves the Living Dead, and they don't care about anything or anybody.
Yes.
Just disaffected youth out for kicks.
Right. So
but there's a twist. But the twist is that the leader of the group happens to have a wealthy mother whose wealth and power stems from a deal she made with an entity known as the Frog King, and that she kind of signed over her baby son's soul for this prosperity. When he comes to what this villain comes to realize is that it also grants him a certain immunity of sorts, in that when he dies, with having faith in his status as favorite of the Frog King, he not only comes back to life, but he can't die again, making him a functional immortal. And soon he's able to convince his followers in the group to follow suit, and where Russ started falling asleep, because this is a slowly paced film, as biker films tend to be.
Yes.
As I said, I might like biker movies more if there wasn't quite so much biking in them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you got the fishing. I like the fishing out the body.
Right. Soon there will be this rash of suicides among members of the group all over town. Also, they can come back and wreak even more havoc than before, and who can stop it?
Yes.
There's pretty interesting.
The big chant out of the big riff out of this was whenever they'd go over little hills.
Yeah, they do little jumps. First, they're going. And then when after Tony initially dies, and the other members bury him
standing on his bike.
On his bike in a grave in their little favored hangout of a circle of standing stones. As they depart,
and I'm sure you're going to get to this. Is where I think we established the pendant theme.
Yeah, this was one of several movies in which a pendant of some sort figured prominently in the plot. It helps repel evil and ultimately destroys it, and things couldn't die. And in this one, the pendant of the Frog King is used to confer power and protection.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was an interesting theme this year. We had movies with pendants in them prominently. Sure.
So, and this is where we definitely have Rory take over, because this is where I finally said, hey, I need to get some sleep.
Well, yeah, this is the point where I was basically hitting the wall, too.
So
and
you didn't...
ended up sleeping my way through most of Killer Workout, although this is a movie that, like a lot of 80s slashers, had a few other titles. The print they used from the recent DVD restoration is called a Robicide, and it's about who is bumping off the members of a fitness club.
Yeah,
so you can
it's not
see
Toxie.
Lots of scenes of women shaking what their mommy gave them in the workouts, in between them being killed off in a variety of grisly ways. Well, not really a variety of grisly ways, because the killer only uses this giant safety pin.
See, they fry somebody in a tanning bed to begin the flick.
Yeah, and the ending does hinge on where that comes into play. The ending hinges on that, and it was not particularly interesting. The twist and the motivation behind the killer is a pretty unfortunate one.
Ooh, not as fun as Toxie.
No, it's not as fun.
You ever get around the Toxic?
I saw the cut that Svengoolie once had,
Okay.
and I just didn't get it. But, okay. And so I was dozing off by this point, and I had an easier time staying awake through much of Shake, Rattle, and Rock, and I'm not sure I missed much when I did doze, because it seems to be around maybe 3 to 8-ish a.m. that I kind of hit a wall. That is generally when I am sleeping in my regular sleep cycle.
Right. The big
But
deal
also,
about
these movies weren't as interesting.
right. The big thing going into that was Renee Zellweger.
Well, yeah. Let's back up. Shake, Rattle, and Rock, I thought, would be one of the many rock exploitation movies that B-Fest has featured before. The twist is that this particular film is in fact a remake of a 1950s AIP film that was part of a series of such made for Showtime in the mid-90s.
Was that the one which also had a Bucket of Blood remake?
Yeah, this was probably it was probably around the same time. I know this was around the time Ralph Bakshi's version of Cool and Crazy was produced, was part of this series.
Okay.
And Shake, Rattle, and Rock is a remake, was a 1994 made for Showtime remake of one of these films. And what it is there's John Waters' Hairspray. This is watered down Hairspray. It's very similar plot. We have Renee Zellweger as a bright, bubbly teenage girl who's getting in trouble for going on the local TV dance show to, well, I'll reference you to the title, and she also gets involved in a band, and she's helping out a quartet of black singers who are trying to get a break.
White Savior!
Yeah, we're talking about that over dinner. This seems to happen a lot in these sort of movies, trying to present a more progressive view of period films.
Do you prefer the White Savior over the League of Magical Negroes, as the movie was released last year? Like Bagger Vance?
I don't think there's anything to prefer.
Okay.
But, yeah, Shake, Rattle, and Rock is directed by Alan Arkush, who directed Rock and Roll High School and Get Crazy.
Hence another Mary Warnock appearance.
Yeah, Mary Warnock plays a villainess, not unlike Principal Togar from Rock and Roll High School here, who's disapproving of the rock music and stuff.
So no exploding mice.
No, not this time, and that's part of it. This Get Crazy was a big hit at B-Fest a few years ago, and it's a wonderfully wild comedy, aptly described on Blue Skies like the live-action, the human version of the Muppet Show, because it features all sorts of actual musicians and some of the craziest roles ever. Like, Lou Reed is a Bob Dylan type who mainly spends the movie being driven around in a cab, musing to himself. Fabian is as a bouncer for the villain played by Ed Begley Jr.
Jeez.
Daniel Stern is the lovable backstage guy trying to keep everything together. Lee Ving as an out-of-control drummer. Malcolm McDowell is a Mick Jagger parody who gets really stoned thanks to a magical drug-dealing robot.
All right. Okay, so went to the well again and just didn't pay off.
Yeah, it's a much milder film than those. It's, as I said, it's very similar to Hairspray, but it doesn't even have the edge that Waters gave that PG film. And it has a very rushed and surprisingly downbeat ending for this sort of story. That we thought this could have been handled better. And while it has fun, it does have a fun look and a really interesting cast, because besides Renee Zellweger, we have Nora Dunn from Saturday Night Live as her mother, and we, as I said, we have Mary Warnoff, we have Howie Mandel as a TV host. It's kind of a different role for him, as was pointed out. Garrett Graham is the disapproving TV producer.
We do not get enough Garrett Graham.
Yeah.
Okay.
The audience went nuts when there was the obligatory Dick Miller cameo.
All right, yeah. Miss Dick, damn. So
there was a lot of interesting stuff here, but it didn't quite come together. It just felt like Tammy and the T-Rex without the wacky sci-fi aspects, in a sense. It was a movie that reminded me most of visually. There was some energy here, but yeah, the get crazy lightning did not strike twice with this one. Okay, we have our breakfast break, and then things fully come back to life with a rare case of an animated feature appearing at a B-Fest. I think the only two previous full-length features they've done were 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat many years ago. Apparently didn't go over well.
That's interesting. I mean, well, I hear it's definitely inferior to Bashki's Fritz the Cat, which I have done on this podcast, on the podcast before. Oh, great! So I guess that's a new. I think I have it on this feed with Gregory Carl, who we're working on getting ready for Indiana Comic Con at Indianapolis. I believe that's the 14th through the 16th. I digress. So, yes. The Transformers, the movie. I just love the fact that it's not Transformers, the movie. It's The Transformers, the movie. From Marvel Studios.
No, not exactly.
No, Marvel Pictures, not Marvel Studios.
Yeah, this movie really got the other... Especially given that the last time they tried an animated feature at B-Fest was Food Fight in the Dead Hours.
Yes, which God,
this was a much bigger hit.
Yes, I still only rate it 2 stars, but I at least gave it a heart now on my letterbox at CM Darth. And I love, like, this time around I really got to appreciate the anime aesthetic, since this was Toei animation.
Yeah, this is as close to... This is one of those many American-Japanese hybrid productions that are as close to anime as you can get without actually being anime.
Yes.
With their aesthetics, with their energy, with their elaborate backgrounds and effects. And it is quite a fun movie, even if it's largely incomprehensible if you don't have even a basic knowledge of the Transformers' presence. And it doesn't... Somebody said, this movie does not stop for a minute. There's constantly stuff being... They're constantly got characters getting into trouble, getting killed, getting reborn, getting...
The only times it stops for action is when you see the cut, when you know they're going to divide the film into 3 to 5 parts for a week to open the new season of Transformers with the new toys, which was the entire point of the feature, was to introduce the new toy line led by Rodius Prime. And I'm like, Judd Nelson is fun, but this was
Rodimus Prime.
Rodimus Prime?
We're not even getting the names of Transformers right. What are we doing here?
Well, look, when I bought the Funko Pops, it was just Hot Rod and Galvatron. The last performance of Orson Welles, and but no, they went out on the voice cast. Leonard Nimoy is Galvatron. Judd Nelson, the Micro Machine guy. Eric Idle was flown in on the Concorde, as you were stating during the viewing, to read incomprehensible dialogue.
Yeah. You can. This movie really worked up the crowd. We had a lot of great riffs. And clearly, the audience was latching on to certain characters as favorites, like the grouchy old bot, who's basically Hot Rod's mentor for much of the movie after Optimus is.
Robert, and Robert Stack is.
Yeah, Robert Stack has another character who's really a funny old guy character. Gets pretty badly beaten up at one point, but they got him back together.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody seemed to love the
Dinobots.
Yeah, the Dinobots, and the way the crowd reacted when they finally got the of mice and men joke about Grimlock wanting to hear about the rabbits again was really funny.
Yes, like, if it wasn't dark enough killing all of the original Transformers line. But I'm sorry, I was always a Starscream guy.
Yeah.
Because he was just saying, like, come on, man, it's not going to work.
And Transformers movie went over really well, and this led into the last movie before lunch, I believe. Well, no, I think
I think
they had a really late lunch today.
Yes, I mean, they were really trying to correct the times, and eventually we got ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. So the next film is another movie that involves post-apocalyptic settings, and
which we didn't really get too much of. I mean, this would essentially be the boy and his dog spot.
Yeah, and it's a similar quest narrative, and one of the more recent films in the line of
1998.
Yeah, this was a film. Six String Samurai was an independent film that got really talked up, like festivals like Slam Dance and on sites like Ain't Cool News at the time. It is a simple narrative that's set in an alternate universe where the United States got nuked by Russia in 1957, and from the ashes of this society rose Las Vegas, which was ruled by Elvis Presley as king for 40 years. But as our story begins, he's just died, and every musician left is trying to get to Las Vegas to take up his throne and cause. Our hero is a Buddy Holly analog. It looks like him. He's even named Buddy, who's also really good at martial arts because he's played by a guy who actually did some work in Hong Kong in the
80s and 90s,
and co-wrote the script, and he's fighting all sorts of largely Mad Max style enemies for much of the narrative, but also he has to keep one step ahead of the personification of death, who has wiped out all the other musicians by this point.
You do get little gangs, warrior style, like the Pin Pals. Did they beat the Simpsons of that?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then there's also the Pin Pals,
If anything, they needed more of the distinct groups, because after a while it's mostly just Mad Max.
Right, until you do get the windmill people. Like, after they wipe out the Pin Pals, they quickly wipe out the dead Elvises. And yeah, so not much variety. It does become more of a story of Buddy essentially raising his replacement.
Yeah,
reluctantly.
This nonverbal feral kid who insists on tagging along with him, and he just can't unload the kid. And it's like, well, it's Six String Samurai. That's not.
Yeah,
that's not a misnomer. It's like Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
For some of you younger viewers or listeners here, something like The Mandalorian. And if anything, it's kind of a movie that I knew I was either really going to love or I was kind of going to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Because the fights are pretty terrifically choreographed, and the movie looks great for only $2 million budget.
Mm.
But I don't think it leans enough into the 1950s aesthetic that it could have, which could have allowed a little more variety in some of the enemies they face after the first half. And yeah, the stuff with the kid wore me down. I guess Jessica had mentioned this too. She didn't stay for this one because she had a suspicion she probably wouldn't be big on it. That a lot of whether you embrace the film or not comes down to how much you were able to put up with the kid.
I thought it was.
I will grant
fine.
that the ending of the movie is have a really neat payoff involving the kid that had the crowd cheering like they had cheered. Because B-Fest crowds, when a movie really hits a triumphant moment, you'll know it from how they respond. And this got one. And the ending of Six String Samurai got one of the best responses of the day.
Yes. And really fit into our pre-lunch movie.
Double Team.
Yes,
And again, having all these really lively action movies in a row, I think did lead to some problems when we got into the home stretch, because this movie was Double Team, Sui Hark's first of two American films, and both of which were Jean-Claude Van Damme vehicles. Was supposed to be this year's closer, and it would have made a great closer with its colorful action as Jean-Claude Van Damme sets out to stop Mickey Rourke, ends up waylaid on an island, on a prisoner-esque island of disappeared agents, and needs to find a way to escape, then get back in touch with his weapons-dealing buddy Dennis Rodman to track down and rescue his pregnant wife from the villains.
Yes.
Even that description does not prepare you for how crazy things get in this movie.
Yes. I got a lot of heat on Blue Sky for going after Sui Hark. You say only 2 American movies. I don't think they flew that many people to Hong Kong for Black Mask 2, City of Mask. This guy, doesn't really, I could see great set pieces, brilliant chances of mise-en-scène. And then it's no, I need to throw a visual effect in here. And then very much jump cuts. I think we eventually agreed that he's very the energy is constant. Flow is the issue.
And he gets charismatic performances out of this handful of lead.
Yes, no, they're all great. Mickey Rourke's good. This is we did have a discussion about somebody shouted, "Was this before the plastic surgery?" No, it was after the plastic surgery, before, and then somebody popped up before the Botox and everything. And how, if you've ever watched the movie Johnny Handsome, which is worth a watch, from Walter Hill, basically Mickey Rourke starts the movie as somebody deformed facially, and he looks like Mickey Rourke now. And then he has surgery helped out by Forrest Whitaker to look like prime Mickey Rourke. And then he's got to deal with more suspicious Morgan Freeman as a cop and Lance Henriksen. So it's not a great. I mean, I don't think it. Somebody should have given it a thumbs down when it came to Siskel and Ebert, just for balance sake. But definitely worth a watch. So, but yes, we did confirm that. Yeah, he's not doing too good.
But Double Team was a big crowd. Ended up a really big crowd pleaser.
I mean, if you thought the finale to Six String Samurai got a big reaction.
Yeah,
the Coke machine and the Coliseum.
The exploding Coliseum finale.
This is the Roman Coliseum.
The Roman Coliseum finale of Double Team.
Where I think Spielberg may have ripped off the refrigerator nuclear bomb thing.
Yeah.
But lacked the foresight of product placement.
Yeah. Double Team would have been a great closer, but instead we ended with 2 lower key movies after we had our lunch. Finally got the lunch break.
This is actually a pretty common occurrence. Like, I can't say of the 4 V-Fests I've been to, only strong closing I think it happened for last year's with Tammy and the T-Rex.
Well, in the sense that you end on
I'm not
something
saying
that really gets the crowd
right.
going.
Yes, Blood Rain didn't do it in 2023, and it was the Claw,
the Giant Claw
in 2022.
Yeah. Well, first up we had The College Girl Murders, which is West German proto-giallo film, I guess.
Giallo, I think, is it?
Because it's a detective giallo film. Yeah, it's a detective movie, but it's also got heavy James Bond elements because it's the mid-60s.
Yes, we've got
a mysterious villain in a lair.
We don't really know who the villain is.
Yeah,
there's like 2 different.
About 3 murders into the movie because I miscalculated the end of the lunch break.
And by that time, only one of them was a college girl. It was the mad scientist who poisons his assistant and then gets killed by the Red Monk. Again, in the West,
wearing red KKK robes.
No. That's what it looks like. No, it is a common apparel for Catholic monks in Europe. There's a famous bit where on the Daily Show where Trevor Noah shows us vacation footage from his trip to Spain, and then he sees a parade, and you got a bunch of white Catholics, obviously Hispanic, walking around in white KKK looking hoods.
I see.
Yes, so no, this was not a Klan reference.
Yeah, we have.
And it's supposed to take place in England, but they did not correct the text on the Holy Bible.
Bible. Yeah, it's just this crazy interlocking run of really twisted up character motivations, rivalries,
and everybody decides to walk out on their own in the dark.
Yeah.
It's and we have an alligator pit, and then they eventually add snakes to it. Does anybody go into it? No, it is a failed giallo because of that.
And also, pretty much none of very few of the actors we had any familiarity with in this case, because this is an obscure West German film.
Except for Slugworth.
Yes. The actor who played Slugworth in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory appears in this movie, and he looks almost exactly the same as he does in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
So,
I'm surprised there weren't more jokes about that.
Yeah, all we really focused was on the gobstopper. I couldn't come up with, you lose, you get nothing, good day. I couldn't figure a way to do that one.
I mean, so, I don't think... the crowd seemed to like it, but given how crazy it gets, you'd think it's not crazy in the way that something like Double Team is.
Right.
It doesn't have much of a payoff.
Yeah. The first 3 murders are the top, and then it's all kind of silly.
And next up, because we did run ahead of schedule with all the changes and some of these movies being rather short as it was, even with technical difficulties, they decided to take requests for a short, and they ended up voting for Heavy Metal Parking Lot, which is a famous little indie documentary short from 1986. It's had a lot of exposure over the years. You can find it in its original form on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a bunch of the filmmakers just went to the
Judas Priest concert.
Judas Priest concert to interview kids
outside of DC.
Outside DC, interview most of these teenagers waiting outside for the show. And that's all it is.
Drinking beers.
Yeah, drinking beers.
Famously saying, F this punk shit. It can go on Mars. Madonna and like, heavy metal. Yeah, I jump on. Somebody did say the lead singer's bones and like, hate to disappoint, and obviously giggles because Rob Halford is not interested in that person jumping their bones.
The only problem we had was that they went to YouTube to pick this one up again. And not only did it have the entirety of the original short, but it also had a bunch of promos for some other productions by these filmmakers, including a sequel of sorts called Neil Diamond Parking Lot, which was shot at the same locale, but 10 years later when they were doing a Neil Diamond concert. So it's mostly talking middle-aged women, or Monster Truck Parking Lot, and then highlights, and then a little history of where the original heavy metal parking lot shirt had been exposed over the years, not always legally.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot about.
And it went on for a while.
Yeah, they just left it until
decided,
but it did basically confirm that I never had the time, especially when I got to see a lot of metal acts, to get to the venue in time to be a 13-year-old. I didn't see any metal at 13. So, a 17-year-old making out with a 24-year-old, in my case, I guess would be the equivalent. Yes, you get a scene where, how old are you? 20. How old are you? 13. So, yeah. Needless to say, I never got the chance to go to tailgates, and unless it's the Bills Mafia, because as a professional wrestler, I have not gone through a table yet. I think those guys could fulfill that dream for me. But, yeah, so after that, it was kind of like, it kind of got us a little, kept up the rowdy attitude a little bit. But when you just have your traditional, not quite castle-type horror.
Well, the closing movie was Jacques Tournier's Curse of the Demon, which is the American recut of a British production, Night of the Demon, starring Dana Andrews from 1957-ish, I think.
Yeah.
This is incidentally the movie that is referenced in the theme song from Rocky Horror Show, science fiction double feature, when you're talking about Dana Andrews said prunes gave him the prunes, about a skeptical American researcher who finds himself investigating the death of a colleague who claims that he was under a hex by way of a wicked sorcerer who...
Just your typical high society Englishman.
Yeah, it just seems like a perfectly friendly English lord, but is secretly running a cult on the side, and
like English, you expect all English lords to do.
This was the second movie that night after Psychomania that involved this sort of thing.
Yeah,
and the endings are also somewhat similar as to how the crisis is ultimately resolved.
Yeah,
but anyway, our skeptical hero, is determined not to believe that he has come under the same hex, which involves a slip of paper with
the date you're going to die.
Yeah, that in runic text specifies the date you're going to die, and
that is a common riff. You're going to die. These are people who died. Reference to Jim Carroll's classic song.
Yeah, and as strange occurrences start piling up, he has to figure out. He he still can't convince himself that there is a real threat that's coming for him in just a few days.
Despite the little kitten turning into a jaguar at one point.
And it's
a fine movie.
On Svengoolie, it's considered one of the better horror films of what was kind of a fallow period for the genre.
Yeah.
But what differentiates this American cut from the British one is that Columbia Pictures demanded that we actually see the titular demon at some point in the film, which I guess is not the case in the original British cut, which also leaves the whole nature of the threat more ambiguous.
Right, but it's
and
not.
You can see the scene. You can see the scene, and if you know this, you can see the seams and especially how things work out in the ending. And this is not surprising because Jacques Tarnier was famous. He worked with producer Val Lewton for RKO in the 1940s with the famous run of horror films that emphasize psychological horror and ambiguity more than big effects work, such as the original Cat People or I Walked with a Zombie. And so this was very much in that vein, but Columbia Pictures in the 1950s was not subtle when it came to their horror titles. These were also the guys who gave us The Giant Claw and all the Harryhausen.
Well, that's true, but when I say not quite Castle, when it comes to William Castle, when you go to House on Haunted Hill, it's not ambiguous.
Yeah.
Vincent Price is going to figure a way to have his wife kill herself. It's definitely not an exciting way to end the night.
No, it's elegant way to end the show, but not as exciting as Double Team would have been, or a traditional kaiju movie.
Yes, and we had that. We did get to that. I wanted roller skates. I mean, at least the movie I missed had the music element. Didn't have Catherine Mary Stewart doing the singing, and then I just like blaxploitation, check. French subtitles, check. Korean subtitles, check. Those aren't standard, but if a disc had subtitles, we were allowed to choose which ones we could get.
Yeah.
So going back to the beginning, I think everybody was trying for a bit to get a French lesson from Shiba Baby.
Yeah, just randomly turning on the French subtitles because they didn't have English ones in this case.
And I do appreciate that they do their best to do English subtitles. Especially since we're riffing our way through stuff. If you want to catch up with the narrative. But, aside from the placement, which was beyond the control, and as I say, this is definitely bumping it forward 2 weeks because you didn't want to deal with the Valentine's Day holiday.
Right.
Kind of put a lot of pressure on everybody. They were a great crew.
Yeah.
I said my issues with keeping everything up to date. I'm not expecting people to pay me $40 ahead of time. Just $3 to make sure my little kitty gets 3 tins of cat food a week. Maybe I need to make this a video podcast so when I do promote my Patreon, patreon.com/IDidCrazyFlicks, I can just put Ava right there. In the eyes of an Ava. And she'd probably scratch my face. I love that kitty.
But, I had a really good time. Mm-hmm. I had a great time meeting all these nice people and going to dinner afterwards. And now I just need to work and get this shut. I'm going to brush my teeth and get to sleep.
Right. So, it's just a time for formalities. If you'd like to be a guest on I Did Crazy Flicks, send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor, as long as the content can go bonkers. I think we have a show, but, I do like the focus on more brief titles. So let's just put it this way. We talked with Andrew TD about it. But the only non-crazy movie we've done together, I would say, would be Tombstone, which of course has crazy scenes, and we eventually determined that if they were Blues Brothers, Wyatt Earp would be Joliet Jake, and Val Kilmer would be Elwood. So that's about as crazy as we can get. But if you got a brief 90-minute movie, 70 to 100 minutes, that's my bread and butter, so always up to talk about that, and it doesn't have to be crazy. So, otherwise, rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. 5 stars, preferably. Be as honest as you like in the text. I'd like to think that I learn. And otherwise, you can follow The Poetic Critic on Letterboxd. That's at ThePoeticCritic. That's all one word. And you can follow me on Letterboxd at CM Darth. C as in cool, M as in movies, Darth as a Sith Lord. And my social media accounts are pretty much all at CatBusRuss, primarily on Blue Sky and Instagram. I'll post on Threads, but I don't really want to do too much with Meta, and I haven't really seen the pixel-fed revolution start yet. I'm not big on pictures necessarily myself. So, I just got to thank Stacia Marie Harden for keeping an eye on me, keeping me out of too much trouble, and I hope she's doing the same for everybody else she touched in her life. And I hope she's enjoying the fluffy presence of Skimble Shanks, the one-eared angel. I miss the little conversations that we could have. He was he would have. That's what I should have done. Feline podcasting. I mean, if Dogman's gonna make bank this weekend, why not a cat podcast? But that's neither here nor there. Thank you again, The Poetic Critic, for tagging along to B-Fest this year. We're probably going to do this again next year, I presume. Or try to, I should say. And, yes, thank you very much, everybody, for checking out I Dig Crazy Flicks. Talk to you next week.
Can I hear a wahoo?